In the world of high technology, there are rarely projects surrounded by such a combination of expectations, rumors, insider reports, and debates as Tesla Optimus. While most people still perceive humanoid robots as something from science fiction, inside Tesla, work has been underway for several years on what Elon Musk has repeatedly called one of the most important products in the company's history. And if just a few years ago, Optimus looked like an experimental prototype capable of performing only the simplest actions, today, the situation is changing literally before our eyes. According to numerous publications in the technology press, statements from Tesla itself, and assessments from industry analysts, the company is gradually approaching the next stage in the development of its robot, which could turn out to be far more significant than many expect. What makes this especially interesting is the fact that in recent months the number of leaks, insider reports, and discussions surrounding the next version of Optimus has increased noticeably. Analysts tracking Tesla's supply chains note that the company is actively increasing purchases of components related to sensor systems, computing modules, and next-generation actuators. Some experts suggest that Tesla is currently in the final stages of preparing another major Optimus platform update that could significantly change people's perception of what the humanoid robot of the future should look like. But while earlier most attention was focused on the robot's mechanics and its ability to perform physical labor, reports are now increasingly appearing about another direction of development. According to several industry observers, Tesla is becoming more focused on the robot's appearance and on how comfortable people will feel interacting with the machine in everyday life. Many specialists believe that the psychological factor will become one of the most important elements in the success of future humanoid robots. People are much more willing to trust a system that looks friendly and understandable than a device that resembles an industrial machine. Therefore, it is not surprising that rumors are increasingly appearing that Tesla may be working on creating a more human-like design for Optimus. This is not only about the external shape of the body, but also about more complex solutions. In particular, some analysts suggest the possibility of new materials capable of imitating the texture of human skin. Such technologies already exist in robotics and are used by research laboratories around the world, but their mass adoption remains an extremely difficult challenge. Nevertheless, the idea of making human-robot interaction more natural looks quite logical from the perspective of the company's long-term strategy. Another area of interest is the topic of Optimus's future face. At the moment, Tesla's robot uses a minimalist design with a black face panel. This approach preserves a recognizable appearance and simplifies the construction. However, some specialists believe that in the future, Tesla may begin experimenting with more advanced facial systems. Creating a fully human-like face is one of the most difficult challenges in modern robotics. It requires a complete redesign of the placement of sensors, cameras, cooling systems, and computing components. In addition, it is necessary to ensure realistic transmission of emotions, facial expressions, and movements. This is why, even if Tesla is truly exploring such a direction, expecting a completely realistic human face to appear in the near future would be premature. However, the very possibility of such a development is already being actively discussed within the technology community. Moreover, some experts suggest that in the future, the company may offer different options for robot appearance customization. Just as today customers choose the color of a car or interior configuration, Optimus owners could potentially choose the external appearance of their personal assistant. Another equally important area remains the robot's hands. The hands are considered one of the most difficult elements of humanoid construction. According to Tesla, the company is constantly improving its finger control system, increasing movement precision, and expanding the ability to perform delicate manipulations. According to analysts, the next generation of Optimus could receive significantly more dexterous hands, capable of handling fragile objects almost at a human level. This would open the way for a huge number of new applications, from household assistance to equipment maintenance, medical logistics, and industrial assembly. However, many specialists believe that the main upgrade of future Optimus will not be its appearance or even its mechanics. The key factor will be artificial intelligence. After the release of new versions of Grok and the rapid development of xAI's computing capabilities, more and more experts are saying that intelligence itself will become Tesla's robots' main advantage. If current versions of Optimus are mainly trained to perform specific tasks, then in the future, the robot will need to understand the surrounding world much more deeply, build long-term plans, and adapt to new situations without constant retraining. Essentially, this represents a gradual transition from a robot as a tool to a universal digital assistant, capable not only of executing commands, but also of understanding human intentions. Many analysts compare this process to the transition from mobile phones to the era of smartphones. Once, phones could only make calls. Then applications, the internet, and artificial intelligence appeared. Now a similar transformation may await robotics. This is why Elon Musk has repeatedly emphasized that in the long term, Optimus could become Tesla's most mass-produced product. Some estimates suggest that if successful, the humanoid robot market could become many times larger than the automotive market. Robots could work in factories, warehouses, stores, hotels, logistics centers, and even private homes. At the same time, the cost of operating such an assistant will gradually decrease as technology advances and production volumes increase. The question of timing remains one of the most widely discussed topics. Despite numerous rumors, Tesla itself has not yet announced a specific date for the arrival of a so-called human-like version of Optimus. Most analysts agree that in the coming years, the company will focus on large-scale deployment of current robot generations inside its own facilities. This is where Optimus will be able to be tested under real operating conditions, collect enormous amounts of data, and continue improving through training. Nevertheless, some specialists believe that the first noticeable design changes could appear in the next generations of the robot. More advanced human-like elements will likely become part of a long-term strategy during the second half of the decade. Everything will depend on progress in artificial intelligence, materials science, batteries, and manufacturing technologies. The price remains a separate topic. Today, most experts assume that Tesla's long-term goal is to reduce the cost of Optimus to the level of an affordable car. Elon Musk previously mentioned a target range of around $20,000 to $30,000 in the case of mass production. However, early versions for the external market, if they appear in the coming years, could be significantly more expensive due to limited production volumes and high component costs. But even if the price remains high, many analysts believe demand will be enormous. The reason is simple. Humanity is facing labor shortages in many countries. Populations are aging, the number of working-age people is declining, and demand for services continues to grow. Under these conditions, humanoid robots are gradually becoming not just an interesting technology, but a potential solution to a global economic challenge. At the same time, many specialists believe that the real transformation will not begin when Tesla teaches the robot to perform new physical actions, but when Optimus is able to fully understand the surrounding world almost as naturally as a human does. This is where the development of Grok artificial intelligence comes to the forefront, becoming one of the key elements of Elon Musk's entire strategy. Today, many analysts view Tesla not simply as an automotive company or a robot manufacturer. Increasingly, it is being described as an artificial intelligence ecosystem in which vehicles, supercomputers, data centers, robots, and language models are gradually being combined into a single infrastructure. According to several Silicon Valley experts, this integration could give Optimus a major advantage over competitors. Most existing humanoid robots still operate within relatively narrow scenarios. They are capable of performing predefined actions but struggle when they encounter unexpected situations. Tesla, however, is betting on versatility. The robot should not simply repeat movements but understand the context of what is happening around it. If a person asks it to rearrange furniture, prepare food, help an elderly relative, or perform a complex sequence of actions inside a home, the system should be able to independently create a plan for completing the task. This is why increasing attention is being paid to training robots on enormous volumes of data. Some analysts suggest that in the future, Optimus could use the experience of millions of other robots around the world. If one robot learns how to perform a new task, the collected data could be used to train the entire network. Essentially, this means creating a collective intelligence where every new experience becomes available to the entire system. Such an approach could lead to robot development progressing much faster than many expect today. If in the past, learning a new skill could take months, in the future, the spread of new capabilities could happen almost instantly through software updates. This means that a robot purchased by a person today could have a completely different level of abilities several years later without the need to buy a new device. Another area of interest is the question of emotional interaction between humans and machines. Already today, many companies around the world are working on making artificial intelligence better at understanding human emotions, tone of voice, and nonverbal signals. Some researchers believe that this will become the next major stage in robotics development. A robot should not only hear commands but also understand the owner's mood, notice changes in behavior, and adapt its interaction to a specific situation. Imagine a system capable of determining that a person is tired after a difficult day at work. Instead of simply executing commands, such an assistant could independently offer help, remind the user about important tasks, organize a schedule, or take over part of the household responsibilities. These are exactly the kinds of scenarios that experts increasingly discuss as the most likely direction for the development of home humanoid robots. But along with these possibilities come serious questions. The smarter machines become, the more concerns arise among regulators. Governments in various countries are already discussing possible rules for the use of artificial intelligence and autonomous systems. Many officials are concerned about a situation where technology develops faster than legislation can adapt to new realities. Some experts suggest that regulation itself could become one of the main obstacles to the mass adoption of Optimus. Questions of responsibility, safety, personal data protection, and autonomous decision-making remain the subject of active debate. If a robot gains access to a person's home, finances, medical information, and daily activities, new standards for protecting such systems will need to be created. Additional complexity is also created by international competition. Today, dozens of the world's largest companies are working on the development of humanoid robots. The field is developing especially actively in China. In recent years, Chinese manufacturers have significantly accelerated the pace of development of new models. Some analysts even compare the current situation with the early stages of the electric vehicle market, when several major players began competing for leadership in a promising industry. That is why many specialists believe that the next 5 years could become decisive for the entire industry. It is during this period that it will become clear who will be the first to establish mass production of truly useful and economically efficient humanoid robots. Elon Musk has repeatedly emphasized that Tesla's ultimate goal is to produce millions of Optimus robots annually. For now, such numbers seem unrealistic, but just 10 years ago, many people also did not believe in the possibility of mass production of Tesla electric vehicles. The question of how robots will affect the labor market is no less interesting. Here, expert opinions differ significantly. Some believe that Optimus will be able to compensate for labor shortages and help developed economies deal with demographic challenges. Others warn about large-scale changes in employment. As robot capabilities continue to grow, some professions may indeed begin to transform. However, supporters of robotics point out that similar concerns accompanied almost every technological revolution in human history. Factory automation, the emergence of computers, and the development of the internet also raised fears about the future of jobs. In the end, the economy did not disappear but changed, creating new areas of activity and new professions. From an investor perspective, Optimus is already considered one of Tesla's most promising projects. Some analytical companies suggest that in the long term, the robotics division could generate revenue for the company comparable to its automotive business. This is why every new Optimus update attracts such enormous attention from the market. Particular attention is focused on Tesla's next major presentation. Many observers believe that at one of the upcoming events, the company may reveal new capabilities of the robot. This could include both more complex physical tasks and a demonstration of progress in artificial intelligence. Some insiders suggest that Tesla will try to showcase more natural interaction between the robot and humans, which would become an important step toward mass adoption of the technology. All of this leads to an interesting conclusion. Perhaps humanity today is witnessing only the earliest stages of the development of something that, in several decades, will become as normal a part of life as smartphones or the internet. Once, personal computers were considered devices for enthusiasts. Then computers appeared in almost every home. Later, smartphones followed the same path. Now many specialists believe that the next mass-market device could be the humanoid robot. And if such a scenario really becomes reality, future generations will perceive household robots as something completely natural. They will help with household tasks, care for elderly people, handle logistics, work in factories, accompany people during travel, and perform thousands of other tasks. And although there is still a long road ahead before reaching this vision of the future, more and more signs indicate that the first steps in this direction have already been taken. That is why the coming years promise to become some of the most interesting in the history of modern robotics. Every new Optimus demonstration, every new Tesla report, every information leak, and every Grok update will be closely analyzed by investors, engineers, and ordinary people around the world. Because what is at stake may not be just another technological product, but the beginning of a completely new era of interaction between humans and artificial intelligence. An era in which humanoid robots will gradually move from the category of science fiction into everyday reality. If we look carefully at Tesla's history, we can notice an interesting pattern. Almost every project of the company was initially met with skepticism. This happened with electric vehicles, when many experts argued that mass adoption of electric transportation was impossible. Later, a similar situation occurred with autonomous driving systems. Today, the same debate is unfolding around humanoid robots. Some believe Optimus is merely an experiment that is still far from commercial success. Others are convinced that this is exactly the moment when the foundations of a multi-trillion-dollar market of the future are being created. Much of these expectations are connected with the speed of artificial intelligence development. Just a few years ago, many AI systems struggled even with basic tasks. However, the emergence of new generations of language models showed how quickly the capabilities of digital systems can change. That is why many analysts believe progress in robotics could also accelerate far faster than current forecasts suggest. The potential integration of future versions of Grok directly into the Optimus architecture is being actively discussed. According to specialists, Tesla's next major goal is to make the robot stop being a device that requires every action to be explained separately. Instead, it should learn to understand the overall objective of a task. For example, if a person says, "Prepare the house for guests arriving," the robot would independently determine the necessary sequence of actions. It could clean the room, check available food supplies, prepare the table, and complete dozens of smaller tasks without additional involvement from the owner. These types of capabilities are now considered one of the most important signs of a transition to a new level of robotics. Many experts call this the development of agent-based artificial intelligence, capable of independently making decisions within the framework of a given goal. Such technologies are being actively researched by the world's largest laboratories, and Tesla is among the companies that could gain significant advantages thanks to its enormous amount of data and computing resources. It is also interesting that some specialists are increasingly discussing the possibility of several Optimus versions appearing at the same time. In the long term, the company could offer different models for different categories of users. For example, one version could be focused on home use, another on industry, and a third on logistics and commercial enterprises. This approach has long been used in the automotive market and allows companies to significantly expand the audience for a product. Energy efficiency also deserves special attention. One of the main limitations of modern humanoid robots remains operating time. However, Tesla has a unique advantage thanks to years of experience in battery technology. Many analysts believe future generations of Optimus could receive much more efficient batteries and improved energy management systems. This would allow the robot to operate longer without charging and complete more tasks throughout the day. Some researchers suggest that in the future, the robot could independently interact with smart home infrastructure. For example, it could monitor energy consumption, control household appliances, interact with solar panels, and home Powerwall batteries. In such a scenario, Optimus would become not just a separate device, but the central element of a home's digital ecosystem. The issue of safety is equally interesting. Many people ask how safe it will be to stay near a machine with significant physical strength and a high level of autonomy. That is why Tesla is paying enormous attention to creating multi-level control systems. According to experts, future versions of the robot will be equipped with numerous action-limiting mechanisms that will help prevent dangerous situations even in the event of software errors. Some analysts believe that in order to obtain permission for the mass deployment of humanoid robots, companies will have to go through complex certification procedures. New international safety standards will likely emerge, similar to those that currently exist for automobiles and aviation technology. As a result, the path to widespread adoption of robots may turn out to be not only a technological challenge, but also a legal one. Meanwhile, interest in Optimus continues to grow among investors. An increasing number of analytical reports are devoted to assessing the potential market for humanoid robots. Some studies suggest that over the coming decades, the number of operational robots could reach hundreds of millions of units. If technological development continues at the current pace, humanity may soon witness one of the most significant technological transitions in modern history.